we usually just recycle all our bee houses, and I mean, we've had the same ones for about 5 to 6 years. Well, probably 7 years. We've had the same ones for 7 years. We just keep adding to. Well, we had about 8 to 10 hives that were real strong going into last year. We thought that 2 or 3 of them were wanting to abscond, wanting to leave, and with how bad the weather was, and with the fact of us not pulling fall honey, we decided to leave it because they seemed a little weaker going into winter with all the rain, and there was a few cuts and breaks on some of the older boxes. Well, for instance, you look, this is where they once were. Now this is I call this a problem that ended up being a good solution. We wanted to move those bee houses for a while. Now we have 3 really strong bees on the other side, and then we made 1 nuke split, which was 4 sets of hives. So we lost about 4 hives that were over here. I hate to lose them. Only 1 we actually lost. I think the other 3 just left and went into the woods, which is good. But what we did is we took the time and started breaking down and cleaning up. Now, you saw the new ones we did, but these are our old ones. And one thing about bee houses, they're out in the weather, literally, I mean, all year long. So we don't winterize ours, so we don't have to put any kind of covers on ours. This year we probably should have, because the weather was just absolutely crazy. But it's not that we're happy that we lost those bees or they went into the forest, but it is a good thing because it allowed us to take the time and kind of get things back like it's supposed to be. So we're going to be cleaning up. All right, look, there's some bees right here, look, because there's some old wax and some old honey residue and some pollen in there that we're going to let them just clean up. So we left it out here for them to clean it up. Our goal today is to throw away all the old bodies that are no good. We've already taken some of the hive bodies that were no good, some of the deep, what they call deeps and shallows, and we threw those away. And the other ones, we had extra paint from a project years ago that we had this 5-gallon bucket full of light green. So if you notice, the thing about bee houses, they don't have to be, but we tend to see most bee houses white or lighter colors. I don't know if it's an old wives' tale, but they always said to paint your colors of your boxes either light or light wood. They don't need to be dark. Well, we've always kind of went around with that. We've always kind of went with that thought pattern, and we've always had white because that's what color they were, that's what color we had. But this time, since we had some extra paint, we had some blue, we had some green, so we've done some mismatching along the way, but we just took the time and said, you know what, we got 5 gallons worth of this random light pink mint color, and we're going to paint every box light mint green color. So we throw away the bad ones, we've got the good ones, everything's been repainted. Now today is all about kind of cleaning up the foundations. Now the bees will clean it up. You see the bees are like flocking to this, and that's a good thing because they're able to get what they need off of it and take it back to the hives that they have. Now you see how many bees there are. Now there's 4 hives we have on the other side of the farm, so that's on the other 40 acres. All these bees are not from probably those hives, so that's encouraging to me because that shows that the bees that we may have lost or have absconded, meaning left their home, their nest, may have just made native to this area, so our gardens and our fruit trees and all that may still be provided for by just our bees that we have that naturally go around our land. So we're going to add a few more. We already split 1 hive. We're going to split a few more. So today we're just trying to clean up our mess. It's supposed to storm next week. So we're going to clean up our mess, get it all taken back and put back up like it needs to be. So that way everything is ready as we keep adding to the 4 hives that we have, along with building some new ones up, which we call nukes when we split the smaller boxes. And so it allows our honey just to keep on flowing. We are not as concerned about losing a few hives. The thing about bees is you're going to lose some and you're going to gain some. As long as you have 2 or 3 established hives, you can always provide yourself more bees. So anytime we have good hives, we're going to split because we know we're going to lose some, of course, throughout the year. So we're always splitting and always adding new hives because we know we will eventually lose some. If it be to weather, if it be to wax moths, if it be because they're weak or they lost their queen. I mean, there's all kind of reasons that you may not understand. Bees are amazing creatures and they give so much to our earth. And now another reason we're not too upset about it is because along with us having the 4 hives that are still strong, we still have all the equipment we need and we can always add to, but we also have stockpiled about 15 to 20 gallons worth of honey, and we still have so much of that left that we've not even touched. So that's been over the last 2 to 3 years that we just keep adding to. Usually we were putting up anywhere from, 8 to 15 gallons a year. So we have tons of honey that will get us through anything we needed to get through. It never goes bad. So it's in 5-gallon vats in our stockpile pantry. And so we're not as concerned about not having honey or not having bees, because we know that we're gonna add more hives, take away hives, add more hives, take away hives. And as long as we have a good established amount of honey, we're not really worried about it. And plus we have 2 or 3 other beekeepers. If we wanted to buy some extra bees, there'd be no problem for us to do that. I thought I was going to actually start breaking down some of the foundation but today, and I might have to put a bee suit on because there's still a lot of bees getting stuff off of it. So what we may do is scrape some of that into a pile, which is like the wax, the residue, and the old honey, and put it in a pile where they can just kind of feed off that pile, and to go ahead and start cleaning up these bodies while I'm off today, and I can get some of that done. So I think instead of doing it in this outfit, because one thing about me, don't tell Misty, but I think it's because I'm a lot sweeter than her, the bees will tear me up. They will sting me in any opportunity they get. Whereas Misty and the kids can just walk by them. So I don't know if I just got sweeter blood in me, or a sweet taste to me, or I'm just more fat and have more sugar on me, I don't know. But ultimately, they like to sting me. So I think even though bees are not territorial when they're going out, or when they're swarming, or when they're going to get food, I still probably don't want to chance it, because there's a lot of bees out here just in this one area. I know there's hundreds of bees flying right here over this pile, which is good. I don't want them to leave, but at the same time I might want to make myself a little bit more protected, so I'm not just going to get absolutely torn slap up. Tired yet?
Can you see where I'm going to have a blister? These that are the wax moths we're in are going to be so much fun.
What would you say? We have 100 frames, 200 frames, 300 frames?
All together, yeah.
I would think so, because we have each box over there has 10 each. So yeah, so we have about 25 bucks, so that's about 250 frames at least right here.
Yeah. Which we don't have to clean off all of them. It's just the ones from the hives that didn't survive for the various reasons.
Right.
But these, where the wax moths made it kind of like gunk, it's not like scraping straight down. It's like scraping, but then it just turns into gunk. So it's been pretty challenging trying to get these clean, but I mean, it needs to be done.
A new day and we have a baby on the farm. It's always good to see healthy babies being born, and we had a lamb that was off one of the mamas that's never actually lamb before, so I'm glad it was only one. It seems like they do better if it's their first time to be a mama if they don't have two. When they have two, it seems like there's a struggle. They don't know really what to do. They usually try to disown one and not take the other. Most of my mamas have had one lamb to start their whole lambing life. But the ones that's had two, only had one mama be very successful in raising both of them. Usually we bottle feed one, or one would not be disowned. Well, it was just always a bad situation. So we've got her taken care of. She's doing great. Mama's doing great. Actually, it's funny because the ram, anytime a baby is born, the ram tends to stay with that mama and that baby for a long period of time. I don't know if it's defense or just curious or what. It's really unique. The last sheep that's got a lamb for this season is Lamb, the one that we raised via baby bottle. We've already had all the other lambs. We've split mamas off, so we're actually encouraged that it's been a really good lambing season and not have a lot of problems with our lambs. Lambs are one of those things, and sheep are one of those things we enjoy having on farm. They're like personal bush hogs for us, so we enjoy using them for that. My family does not like lamb as much as I do. I can eat lamb all the time. I love it. Or sheep. But what we do is we put them in places that we really need to kind of clean up and cut and manicure and make look better, so we can raise them on pasture, but then we can also put them in these areas that just between trees and things like that. So they've been really good for us. I don't really need to grow our herd too much more. It seems like lately we've had a lot of rams, which again is food. The ewes is what I really want to grow more of, so I'm glad that she had a ewe. This is a little ewe. I think the kids named her Lucy because the other one was named Larry, so it's Larry and Lucy. So now we have one left to lamb for the season, and that kind of finishes us up. If we can have a good successful lambing season, that's good. You know, we talked about planting potatoes and got those planted. Right here are those rows. You can see them. We have onions starting to come up. We've got onions on this side and then potatoes all in the middle. Well, part of this garden has done really good. Chickens have been on it, but we want to make it even better. So what we're going to do is take some of the fertilizer and the chicken manure and chicken bedding that's been with them and put around all these onions and all these potatoes. So that way it kind of gives them a jump start to really start getting a lot of nitrogen, and just put it as a bedding for them to mulch around in the garden. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean everything's going to grow. This is the first time we've ever grown potatoes up here. We usually grow them in looser soils down there, but we had so many, and we're wanting to grow our harvest to be bigger on the potatoes, and we only have certain places that can grow that's not just completely really wet. So this is one of those hills. So we're going to see if we can grow them here just as easy as we can grow them down there. So again, the lambs were born. We've also got pigs, expecting piglets just any day. And you know, that's why we put them in the barn. We are going to have probably 20 or 30 piglets, I would imagine, when it's all said and done. Which is a good thing, don't get me wrong, it's really good. But it kind of makes me nervous every time we think about that, because that's a lot of animals. And we got to make sure, of course, they're all taken care of until they're sold. So it kind of makes me cautiously optimistic. These mamas have been phenomenal. They've never had problems. We got them in the barn safely, so I think we're going to be okay. But it kind of just makes me nervous thinking about it right now, because as we're watching the lambs, as we're watching calves, we're also watching for pigs. So both mamas are in the barn. We've gotten bedding, and if you notice back in the very back of both these stalls, they've also kind of made their little bedding area, which means they're kind of burrowing around and getting ready to have babies. These two pigs are probably 450, maybe 350, 450 pounds. The ones that we usually slaughter off are not quite this big, but these are our mamas. They never stop growing. The daddy we know is around 600 pounds, so these are not far behind him. But both of these mamas look good. This is Oreo, and this is Ginger, and we just put this top on just so they can stay away from the elements. Again, these are the piglets that these are the pigs here that will be getting ready to go to slaughter. We also got to move the boar who's sitting over there in the mud. We've got to get him moved out, because when we release these pigs back into the forest here, we don't need the male trying to rebreed the mamas yet. We try to keep them rebreeding so fast, just to give them a break, raise the piglets they have. And once we know those piglets are up, then we'll put the mamas back with the boar. But the whole point of us walking over there was I needed the shovel. The shovel was over there because the other day we had a pig get out. Not because of any reason other than when we rebuilt the pig barn, the guy who was helping assist me do that, he put the gate on wrong. Because he had to take the gate off, and instead of turning the hinge, because I'm guessing he's just not on farms a lot, he had the hinge set up like what a cow would be okay, because a cow is not gonna challenge a gate like a pig would. And he put it to where the pig literally could just get under it and just push it up. And so the next morning at 4:30, when I'm driving around in dark, half asleep, I see this big old monster pig standing in front of me. Scared me half to death. Even though I'm around pigs all the time, I wasn't expecting it. So, so I had the shovel over there because we were kind of holding the door up until me and Aiden fixed it. We fixed it yesterday, so it's done. Pig's not gonna get back out, but kind of spooked me. So that's why I had to get the shovel. Here, I'm gonna show you this. That bucket looks really nasty. I know it looks nasty because it is nasty. That is the rabbit manure. We'll be hauling that and some of the other ones down to the gardens for Misty, because she'll use the rabbit manure as we start composting, building more seeds for the gardens on that side of the farm closer to the house. So now let's go into the chicken barn. We're gonna go ahead and get some of this bedding out that's kind of been around here for a while. The thing about the bedding and doing it this way, instead of just doing straight fertilizer is very, very strong when it comes to chickens. And it can burn all your things because it's considered hot fertilizer, hot manure, versus cold manure, which is rabbits and goats and lambs. So what we do is we mix it with this bedding, and when we know we're gonna pull it out, we'll bed them over there closer. In this older section that's got old bedding mix, we won't put any fresh bedding on it, and we haven't. And that's why we got these pallets. The reason we put these pallets here is now I can get behind them, get all this old bedding out, and that is nitrogen rich. Also, it's not so hot because it's been sitting, and it's also been mixed with some of this pine bark mulch, which is going to help for us to be able to put on these crops and make sure everything starts growing really good with a good nitrogen boost from the chicken manure. We've got a big pile of you-know-what this will take to the gardens. I think this is always good, and one thing that makes me happy is that we use what we already have. I mean, have you priced fertilizer? It's ridiculous. Plus, for us, we are organic. So if you're buying organic fertilizer, and synthetic fertilizer is already expensive, when you think about it, why would I want to spend that kind of money when we have the asset on farm? It just takes a little work. So as much as I would love to just grab a bag from Home Depot or Walmart and spread all over my crop, two things. I want the sustainability and I want the independence, but I want the economic of it because we're not wasting something that's literally sitting right here. It just needs a little work to get it up. It absolutely is a beautiful day. It's windy, but a beautiful day. I think I'm gonna take the kids fishing and a little bit at the pond. But all this has been covered with chicken fertilizer. Again, the thing, remember, anytime you're doing or dealing with fertilization when using manure, cold manure, things like rabbits, goats, sheep, you can mix into your soil. Now, you don't want to mix them, of course, if you're planning on eating whatever it is, like lettuces or whatever. I mean, if you're fishing harvest stuff, they don't do that. But when you're planting, mix it right in. It helps compost and make the soil better and fertilize it. Hot manure, such as cow manure or chicken manure, you can mix them in to the mix of compost, but I would challenge you not to mix them directly into the soil if you're planting right then, or you have something that's very vulnerable or fragile, like lettuces or leafy greens, because they will burn them. Like for instance, if we're putting hot manure, like for instance chicken manure, things like that, if it's not really deep bedded and mixed in with some kind of mulch or other compost dirt, we're gonna put it right on top because it's gonna be so strong that it's gonna get in and penetrate the ground. So for instance, when we plant corn, we will plant corn in this whole big spot right here. The corn, we will put the same chicken manure all the way across it. I'm not gonna mix it too much into the soil because I know it will burn the seed when I place it in. Even when we quote unquote side dress, which means we're gonna come beside it and rebed some fertilization beside it, I'm gonna be very conscientious of that because it can burn and can over fertilize the area with hot manure. Now, if you're talking, again, cold manure, talking things that are already composted, totally different scenario, go ahead and mix it right into your soil. But just be very wary when you're planting things. Too much of even organic fertilizers or too much of manure fertilizer can be overbearing and can cause problems for your crops or for your seeds. So just be conscientious of that. We don't use pig manure too much for our crops. We tend to take like this right here. This is where pigs were, and the manure is heavy, so you see the grass is growing beautiful. We tend to take anything like that, through the pig barns, and we tend to scatter in these kind of spots that we took up trees and that the ground needs to heal in the pasture. Not saying you can't use pig manure, I just never have because we didn't need to. If again we need help in the pastures, then that's where we would tend to use the pig manure. We're not even wasting even their manure loads when it comes to you know, what they're releasing out there back in. It's all regenerative and all can be used to start the growing process once again. If it be grass, pasture, or if it be what feeds our animals, because that's what's feeding our animals. When that grass is doing better, that allows our lambs, our sheep, and our cattle to eat, to then turn around and produce their manure to turn around and place on our garden. It is amazing how God created all this, and it doesn't need man's complex way of making synthetic fertilizers or man's way of rebuilding the soil. It just takes using what God's given us, and that's what makes this even more special. You'll notice when we come back and start you know, closing these gardens up, we're putting chickens on them. Why are we putting chickens on them? Because they're going to eat the residue and drop their manure right in the soil, and then we're going to cover it up and get ready for next year. Regenerative ag is the only way that you should be growing crops and growing food for you, because it's the healthiest way to grow crops for you. So last project of today, dealing with the animals, we have to go pick up our steer. I don't know if you know, or Misty said anything on her channel, but we processed that steer and we've got to go get the steer. So I've got to get dressed and go do all that, but before we do, we got to finish up the chores here. So we got the gardens done. We're fixing to finish up releasing the dairy cows into these new fields. Now these fields are good fields. They're small fields here. It's on the back side of our property, right behind the greenhouse. They have a lot of tree debris down, so I got to get in here and clean it up, but that's from all these storms we've had. So there's just tree debris everywhere. However, it's got some good grass growing all through here, and we're kind of getting to that season where spring grass is finally starting to grow. Clovers are starting to grow, wild onions are starting to grow, so it allows us to kind of get back on a normal, I'd say a normal kind of rotation. Right now we're still kind of slow, using a lot of hay, in which we've had a great hay season, so I'm not complaining. But because of that, we've had this field just kind of sitting here. If you remember, this is where we put the steer that we couldn't get loaded. This is where he was. So we've got stuff just makeshift and kind of jerried up to try to get where we could have that steer not getting out. So I gotta bust this back open because the steer can get out anyway, and the calves can too. So that's why we're trying to make sure everything's okay through here. And we'll close this at night so the steer can't come this way. So the little calves can't come this way, because calves can be difficult. So the run, look at all this. I mean, look at all this debris. This is from the last storms, and you see kind of where we're at. We're in what we call our run, our back run. This is right behind our home, right behind our smokehouse, and this is where all our trees are. And it's just one simple thing. We didn't want to go further with this fence. We had no, this was all just trees and kind of what we call our buffer zone from our farm to another piece of property. So we didn't want it to clear out and make fields there. We wanted to keep a tree line. So the only purpose of this area is simply a run for the cows. So when it has so many trees above it and storms come through, those runs become a place where I fix so much barbed wire because of all these tree limbs. So we're gonna go ahead and get the cows open to this, and then tonight we'll move the cows back to where they're at now, the dairy cows. But the calves and the one that's not nursing and the other little steer that's with them, this is where they've got to go. Come on. And for kids, the kids are having a blast jumping on the trampoline. It's a beautiful day. They've been playing with water balloons and everything else.
She just fell.
Come on.
But she's not crying.
Come on. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. I just gotta get these calves down here and push them. Calves are so pretty, but they're so difficult. They irritate the mess out of me, especially if I'm moving. Not like the beef calf, never bothered me because we don't deal with them a lot. But these little dairy calves, because we have to always move animals, they can be difficult. Perfect. Now if they can just make sure they get to where they're supposed to go, we're hopefully having this chore done. We're gonna fill up the water for them, and we can finish this day out. Have fun with the kids. We're gonna probably go get the steer, do a little fishing, and after fishing, we're hopefully gonna do some steak. We're gonna close this gate off. This gate will allow us to put the dairy herd up tonight, because again, we're still calf shearing. When we get back, we've got to go somewhere next month. So when we get back from that trip, we're gonna go ahead and split the mama cows, and those little calves will go stay with the beef herd for the time being, just so there's no calves nursing, so we don't have to worry about them anymore. The good thing about that is we don't have to deal with calves anymore. The bad thing about that is if we have a problem with a milk pump, or we have a problem with storms, power goes out, anything like that, no matter what, I've got to milk those cows out. I can't give them a chance to not get milked out. So it's good and bad. It's easier because you just have the mama cows and they know the routine. It's worse because you have no backstop. So say for instance, I can't milk one day. Something happened, I got sick, had to go out of town. We have the calves that will always take that milk. When you're not calf shearing, you don't have that luxury. so it's a good thing and a bad thing. So we'll get those. We're actually checking these Wednesday. A vet's coming over. We're going to palpate them and see how far along Gussie is, which is the white one we're not milking right now, and also see how far along the two other new mamas are. They should be light bred, and if they're light bred, then we know they're right on par to have babies and start the whole cycle once more. Usually we'll take these calves off of them next month, and then hopefully within 2 months we're drying them up, and then within 2 more months they're having babies. That's a perfect world. So guys, thank you so much for watching. We hope that you enjoy our farm. We do love these animals. They are pretty. Like that one right there is going to be our future milker. What's so cool about this whole process is their mama, Josie, the one furthest over there. She was born on this farm. She's now 7 years old. She's had several babies on this farm that's provided us meat, provided us milk cows, provided us money because we sold some of them. And so now she's providing us her new legacy, which is going to be this little calf right here. And that is what's so cool about regenerative ag and farming and having this homestead, is that we see all this stuff come to fruition and we're able to actually live it and see the fact that it can produce milk, meat, legacy, and it just keeps on going to provide for our family. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this channel. Please go down here, subscribe, check the other channel out. God bless.